Hello and welcome to Tarot by Tatiana. I want to start my series of playlists of explaining tarot to people like my daughter who own a tarot deck. Maybe you purchased it, or maybe you were given it as a present. Maybe you picked it up at some, I don't know, garage sale. But you have this deck at home, maybe a couple of them. And you always want to start using it. You want to draw the card, to ask a question and get an answer, but you almost never do it, or you've done it a couple of times, you got frustrated and put it aside. I think the reason, it is my personal opinion, maybe it is completely different for you, but I think that even though we are told so many times that tarot cards are our friends, they're the friends, they're here to give you advice or help you to put things in perspective. For instance, you're caught up in some situation, you're not objective, you're worried too much, but when you look at these beautiful images, these pieces of art, it helps you to look at things differently and to put things into perspective. It also stimulates your brain to come up with different ideas or remember something that maybe was on the back of your mind and you did not realize that, oh, this is what I keep doing and that's how I don't know, attract bad friends or bad boyfriends. So they're our friends. One of good teachers, educators, and writers, Susan Chang, in her book Live in Tarot, she says that tarot is like Google Map. You have it. You know how sometimes you are driving and the Google navigation tells you take a right turn here to stay on the fastest route. But sometimes you are too engaged, too occupied with your own thoughts, and you think, oh, that's okay, I'm fine, continue to drive. It's okay if I'm not on the fastest route, as long I just want to do, I just don't want, I'm busy, I'm thinking of something, I don't want to do it now. So this is how tarot works. It does not dictate, it does not tell you what to do, it doesn't read your mind, it doesn't have any crazy channeling abilities. It is here to guide you and to give you advice. It is your language to tap into your subconscious, to connect to something that we call intuition, something that is already out there, it's known, but our conscious mind doesn't work like that. So you don't have to use it. You are still the master. You can do whatever you want. It is only here to guide you. So I think that the reason people do not use tarot as much as they would love to is because they are simply scared to draw a bad card. Because everyone tells you to get familiar with the cards, to be able to memorize, and more than memorize, to really learn and understand and connect to 78 cards, you need to start with daily draw practice. So every morning you draw a card or two cards, which is also even maybe a better practice. And this way, during short period of time, you get familiar with the whole deck. And not just familiar if you take time and put an effort into remembering the whole day, what it was saying, at the end of the day, making remarks, even if it is mental remark. Oh, this is what I experienced during this day. You really quite quickly become, familiarize yourself with the whole deck. But I think people are a little bit scared to start morning with this like a lottery type, like, what if I draw a bad card and now my day is ruined? And all these images look so scary. For instance, one of the scariest images, right? The notorious Ten of Swords. I mean, no one wants to start their day with this card. No matter how much you try to explain or spin it or put different various meanings into it, you don't want to see it first thing in the morning. And that is why I want to try and just to put things in perspective and to water down the scary images, make it more digestible to you. So these images that are very popular, as you know them, most of you know this very traditional deck that all the teachings now, if you take any tarot class, any webinar, lesson, book, anything is based on this deck, Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It became an ABC, and for a good reason. It was created by exceptionally talented people, Arthur Waite and the artist Pamela Coleman Smith. But I want, without boring you with long history of tarot, I just want to say, this is not the first deck on earth, and it wasn't given to us by God. It's not a Bible. It is a modern tarot Bible. But way before it, right? At least 2 centuries before it. I mean, even earlier. But modern, ancient, modern tarot deck, let me show you, was called the Tarot de Marseille, or Marseille Tarot. And I have it in very large size, so I get my point across. So this deck, as we know it now, as it became popular and still is in use by many people now, it has been published. It was created way before, but published in 1760. And I want to explain to you what is the main point here, and what are the similarities and differences between the Rider-Waite-Smith deck that you know as RWS deck and the Tarot de Marseille. So the major arcana is very similar. Here is the Empress, the Death, I have super cute Death, the Hangman. I want to show you next to each other. The modern version of tarot deck that you probably have, or you've seen many, many times, and the very, very old 17th century, or even 16th century, the Hangman from Tarot de Marseille. I prepared so many of them. So major arcanas are very, very similar. See the strengths. Every modern deck has some type of a gentle lady dealing with some beast or dangerous animal and trying to appease him without any force, by just quiet force of her inner strength. The Sun, no different. You have usually a baby sitting on a horse, but you would recognize without any effort this card as a Sun. The Hierophant or Pope, the Emperor, they are really very similar. Very cute devil that also has 2 people loosely chained to him. Very similar. It's the same concept, right? Now, in 1900s, the modern desk, as you know it, by Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith, was created. They were member of the Golden Dawn Society, secret society. They were all into all these esoteric practices. And Arthur Waite hired Pamela Smith to work on his deck, because not only she was extremely talented, but also she had a gift of clairvoyance And he thought she's much better fit for the job, right? And she also was a member of that society. And she was really good for the job because she truly had that inner, connection and feeling of mystery that is in tarot cards. She did not benefit financially because initially she wasn't even put on the name of the deck. The Rider Waite deck, the Rider is actually the last name of the publisher. And only later the Tarot Society put her name Smith on the deck just to make justice for her. And when she was working, it is our understanding that she knew that how major arcanas pretty much should look, but for the minor arcanas, she did not have she wasn't tasked, with any particular task of how to create minor arcanas. She had autonomy on that. And all these striking images that you either love or are mesmerized by them, or you are scared and you feel uncomfortable to draw cards in the morning because you don't want to see them in your day, it was really a fruit of her own artistic approach and her imagination. They were made so strikingly beautiful or strikingly upsetting, like very depressing, really in order to quickly captivate you, to impress you without you spending time to read or find out what this card really means. She wanted you just take a look at it and get all the feelings you need, right? Because remember, they didn't have internet, so you couldn't really Google, what does this mean? So the image was done the way that after you see it, you have no questions left. And what I want to show you, that the older deck, the Tarot de Marseille, this is how the major arcana looked. See, they did not have any super personal images. These are the cups, these are the pentacles, these are wands or swords. And you see, there is really just a sword cutting through it. So that's how you know it is a sword, a suit of sword. So what I wanted to show you, a couple of cards, just to make you feel a little bit easier with the sometimes scary images, and just put it into perspective. For instance, one of the really unpleasant cards, Five of Pentacles. You are probably familiar with this image of two really miserable people. Miserable in every sense. They look cold, they look hungry, he's a handicap, she's clearly very cold. It's understood that they they're experiencing poverty and hunger and cold, and there is a hope. There is a window at the church, and there is a hope. But every interpretation you will see in your little white book or in more elaborate books with many pages and beautiful images, you will see that it speaks, of destitute, financial loss, lack of money, and every way misery. This is, I hope I hold it correctly, this is the same card. This is Five of Pentacles from the deck that is much older. And you can, and I will make more videos on it because I have a wonderful book with exact interpretation for each image here. But it is usually just about the flowers, either being able to blossom and grow freely, or being captured inside and being limited and restricted. But there is no blood, there is no handicaps, no very hungry or cold people. So I just want you to understand once again that with her amazing talent, and also Pamela Smith, she was an illustrator, and her job, her calling was always to create image that speaks louder than words, than the book, than what is written. And that's how you see these very powerful images. Ten of Swords, once again, a very notorious Ten of Swords. This is the Ten of Swords. You see the Roman number 10, and you see the swords. Again, you can argue about how everything is intertwined and if the energy is being restricted or if there is a freedom of expression, but definitely it is not an image that will ruin your day and that will make you, oh, I don't want to use my tarot anymore. Or at least I want to take all the bad cards out of it, which is what I wanted to do for sure. And we can go on and on. Again, the Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords. See, there is no really depression. Another one, a big one, is Three of Swords. Everyone is terrified to get this card. Now I want to tell you, from my great teachers, from a tarot guru who lives in UK, and I am still fortunate to take her private lessons. Her name is Josephine Ellershaw. She said, no, this is not the end of the world. Please don't see it as the end of the world. First of all, it is only number 3 in a suit. So yes, you experience some minor setbacks, or yes, it broke your heart, but not forever, or minor squabble. Things did not go the way you wanted, or maybe someone you liked and trusted and he broke your heart, but not forever, really. You will move on from this. Sometimes it actually represents a long-term relationship. Now, to back up her words, look at Tarot de Marseille, Three of Swords. There is no broken heart. Again, you can learn how this plant is not able maybe to expand outside of the swords limiting it. But definitely, you're not going to commit suicide from that, for sure. So I just want to lighten up your view on tarot. And I want you to go back to using the cards. And again, realize that it is your friend. It's only here to give you an advice. I want to make an example of the Tower. Let me get to the Tower card. And you know, the Tower is one of the most feared cards. And across the decks, all the modern decks, it looks very, very similar. It's very hard to make it any different, because it is a sudden change of plans. It is a sudden interruption, disruption. It is more of a disruption. All of a sudden, in a big way, if you're thinking, I don't know, about your career or about the biggest, right? It will not go as planned. There will be big change. And we've just recently, really from starting with COVID, we've experienced what it is, what it can mean. Seriously, the new restaurant opened in 2020, and everything, you know, everything they worked on before opening, putting so many things to work together, all of a sudden, it was all ruined. It didn't matter anymore. Or I don't know if it is a relationship. Again, you've met someone, you thought he's the one, and all of a sudden, his girlfriend or his wife calls you and says that she's pregnant from him. So everything, it's really rough. I'm not arguing with that. But if you pull it, if you draw it as a daily card, you need to water it down, because as a daily card, it can mean a change of plans. I've experienced personally something like we went to the restaurant we loved, and all of a sudden this restaurant turned out to be closed or out of business. Or I was waiting for some doctor appointment. I was sure I'm gonna get certain procedure. I prepared, and I come and like, no, there is a change of plans. This is not for you. Or the doctor you've been waiting for, he got sick or he's not there anymore. So as a daily card, water it down. It's not gonna be devastating. It will be just some change of plans. What else I wanted to show you? The Ten of Swords. Just now, the Ten of Swords that I just showed you, the Ten of Swords. We went on a cruise, totally beautiful cruise. And before we went, I drew cards. How is my trip going to go? And I will show you later. There is a very beautiful spread that makes it very easy, even for complete beginners, to get a good idea of how things are gonna go. Like for complete beginners. When you just draw things from each suit that corresponds to your thoughts or your feelings, so you don't have to make this weird connection. What can it mean for my feelings or something if it's from the spirit or from the earthy element? And for my thoughts about it, for my communication and thoughts, I pulled Ten of Swords. And we were going to a beautiful, beautiful cruise. And I was saying, oh my God, because it's in communication element, right? The sword suit is our words, conflicts, everything that our brain makes up. I thought, I know what it is. We are going with friends, and sometimes he annoys me, and probably I'm gonna lose it and be rude to him, and maybe I'm gonna like completely screw up our friendship. This is what I thought, because I did not know what else to think. But what it turned out to be, that so the 10 is the last number in the suit, and it means completion. It's the end of it. It's something where you decide no more. I will never do that again, right? Or this is done. It's not gonna be back into my life the way it was before, at least. And sometimes it is involuntarily. You are not happy about it. It just happened. But in my case, now the other suits card, the Major Arcana, and 3 other suits I had was perfect, beautiful. And I couldn't understand how this card fits into it. It's one of the worst cards. And it turned out that the trip was absolutely gorgeous. So the cups were correct on my great enjoyment of it. The Major Arcana was correct on us being healthy and having no difficulties. Even the flights are on time. Can you imagine? Even our airplanes were good and on time, and there was no delays. But I realized I'm not good for cruises. I'm not designed for cruises. So I said to myself, thanks God, I'm so grateful for this trip. Everything was awesome. But I'm never going on a cruise again. I'm just not that type of person, at least until I'm older and really would be able to enjoy opportunities the cruise has to offer. So being a sword suit, it represents your thoughts, your words, communications, and conflicts. But in my case, it just turned out to be that no more, I'm not going anymore to cruises. I finally understood it. So I hope this video will help you to start using tarot and not to be afraid.